Pig Trail Nation's Mike Irwin with us on a Monday morning here on Halftime. And happy Monday, Mike. Going to hear from the wide receivers today. I can't think of another position group that might need a second day of interviews. With all the talk on wide receivers, this is the group that needs one.
Yeah, they've been impressive, and at least in the part we see. Omega Blake is the guy that's really stood out. I mean, you see him every day looking good. 6'2", 190, Charlotte transfer. I think he had over 800 yards receptions last year there and 9 touchdowns. He was averaging almost 25 yards a catch last year, and that was second nationally. He's got good speed. He's 6'2". He runs routes really well, got good hands. He's probably, everybody talks about who's the Andrew Armstrong this year, that's probably him. But then you've also got, we keep talking about Antonio Jordan, and at 6'6", 230, he stands out. The first day, when I was over there on that first day and they were doing 11 on 11, you could tell that the cornerbacks had been told intentionally to rough him up. They were pushing him, they were grabbing him, shoving him, knocking him around, and they just couldn't stop him. He was catching everything, even though he was being interfered with. And there's that video that has been posted by the school on its website showing him extending upward on a pass that would normally be out of bounds. And he's got that 6'6" frame with those arms stretched up and made that great catch. And a lot of people have been talking about him, and some crabby fans have been saying, hey, it's just one catch. Well, it's not just one catch. He's looked good every day. So, and then you've got some of those smaller receivers, Raylan Sharp and Jalen Brown. Those are 2 transfers that have come in this year. So, yeah, wide receiver. I'm interested to see how that's going to line up. We're still not sure who goes where. I think those boundary receivers are interchangeable. I don't think, even though they've technically got, most of those guys lined up together, Blake, Jordan, and Harrison, and even Courtney Crutchfield, I think they can move around from one side to the other, but that'll be interesting. Sam Pittman has talked a lot about this team being bigger and more physical, and you can see that. It's hard for me, anyway, to judge offensive linemen when they're not in a scrimmage situation, when they're just doing blocking drills. But, the projected starters on the offensive line, I added it up, they average 6'6", 330. And it reminds me of that offensive line under Bielema when Pittman was the O-line coach, and they had success with that huge offensive line. That was about what they were, maybe 6'4", 6'5", around 330, 335. So it's a big offensive line. Guys, the person that has impressed me the most is Mike Washington. I've already heard a lot of stuff, rumors coming from people who've talked to the coaches who say, he came in and basically he's been running number 1. He took that job away from 2 other people that were here. And he's big, 6'2", 230. And you can tell he's got speed. But what impressed me was they did some blocking drills, and he looks like a guy that can take on a linebacker that breaks through. And this is a problem Arkansas has had for several years now. Those running backs back there, the last line of defense, if a blitz, somebody muffs a block or whatever, you got to be able to take that. I don't care who it is, whether it's a defensive tackle, a defensive end, a linebacker, you got to be able to take them on and at least get in the way. And there's been too many Olay type things back there. So if Talon Green needs protection, and he does, at least Mike Washington looks like he may be able to help.
I was going to ask a little bit about the right side of the offensive line, but I'm not sure now because, you can't really, in your eyes, I'm talking you, Mike, what you're seeing, figure out until you're watching them in a scrimmage. And I don't think you're going to get a chance to watch them in a scrimmage. It'll have to be Alabama A&M or Arkansas State. And it just kind of, I have a sense when it comes to at least the depth in receivers and who will get snaps, not necessarily who starts, but who's going to get snaps. And I feel the same thing on the offensive line on the right side. Do you think this will be a little bit of just moving parts over the first couple of weeks, just trying to figure it out, what this looks like until the Ole Miss game? Do you think that you'll have real starters on the offensive line on the right side for those first 2 weeks, or is it just going to kind of be wait and look?
Well, it sort of looks like that Branham he's been running one a lot, and he's that, the kid, the true freshman that played last year in the bowl game and impressed everybody. 6'5", he's the biggest guy out there at 6'5", 3. Well, he's not as big as Shaq, but 6'5", 330. And then I think we all think if he's not number one at the start of the season, that right tackle is still going to be Shaq McCrory, 6'8", 340. But you're right. I mean, those two positions to me are important. And at least what we know now is there's depth there, one way or the other. So that was an issue last year, and I think left tackle was an issue. And by moving Carmona into left guard, I think that solved a lot of problems. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, we can sit here and talk all day long. I mean, Sam Pittman has really touted, going all the way back to media days and in his press conferences here, he's touted those tight ends. Well, let me tell you, the tight ends, they may be big and physical. They couldn't catch a cold today. They were dropping everything that was thrown at them, and these were good passes on target, and they were getting their butts chewed out. So, we do see some things that are negative, and we're going to report them when we see them. That's just what we do. So hopefully they just had a bad day. But they need those tight ends to catch the ball, too, not just be blockers.
So you're going to hear from the receivers today, and we got into that a little at the start of this. You'd mentioned about maybe Omega Blake is the next Andrew Armstrong. The thing that it's not worried about, the thing I don't want to see is another Isaac Tesla in the idea that all you heard about Tesla is everything that's thrown near him he's going to catch. I guess not enough passes were thrown near him because he did not have the kind of production that you'd think for somebody that was drafted as high as he was by the Lions. And all the measurables that he showed at the combine, I don't think he just got faster and bigger and stronger in the 2 months from the bowl game to the combine. There was something there. Either I don't know what it was. And to me, it seems like it was more on Taylon Green. We hear so many about the attributes of these receivers, but the thing that it is Taylor's got to throw it their way. I just hope that there's not another instance of an Isaac Tesla.
Yeah. Some of that was, they had him in the slot. He was behind Satenya, and they were really high on him for most of the year. And where you saw him really come on is after Satenya left. And he, at that point, that's when Tesla had a really good game against Missouri. He had a good bowl game. And then he goes out, in that postseason situation and just opens everybody's eyes. And that's and he did well at the combine. He didn't, just to me, he didn't seem to be as fast as he looks like he is right now, and I can't believe that he would get that much faster. I don't know. Maybe clearly coaches misevaluated that some, but whether that would happen again, I don't know. I just know that I think they've got a lot of options. I don't think they're going to have somebody that's really good that we don't find out till the end of the year just how good they were. But I understand why you're concerned about that.
I wonder if there's a thing, because Matt had brought this up. We were talking about Antonio Jordan the other day, last week, and he saw the weight and thought maybe he needs to lose about 8 or 9 pounds. And I've heard a couple of guys, I don't know who it was that asked the question, that maybe he moves to tight end later on in his career, because he seems to be the question that everybody wants to ask to all the players and all the coaches, because he seems like a freak just from what I've read about. But I forget who it was. This kid's a wide receiver. Do you think does the body look right? Do you think he needs to lose a little bit of weight, or does he look fine right now? Because what you're saying, it sounds like he's fine right now.
Yeah, he doesn't look overweight to me at all. In fact, in his legs he doesn't look like a tight end. He does look more like a receiver. And of course, when you start, people automatically say, "Oh, just move him to tight end." Well, he's got a block, and I don't know anything about him as a blocker, so I couldn't answer that question. But all I know right now is they don't. And if they have problems with those tight ends catching footballs, maybe he gets moved. I don't know. But right now, they've got him as a boundary receiver, and I think that's what he's going to be. And I mean, he's got speed. I think he can get behind people, but I think where his value is going to be is when you throw a pass up, he's going to go up and get it where nobody else can. There's just nobody out there. I don't know. There's no cornerbacks that I know of that's going to go up with him on a pass that's thrown high and knock it away because he's just too tall and he's got those long arms. And if you just have to come out there and watch what he's doing, it's a mismatch.
Remember, we sort of would make fun sometimes of Chad Morris that was the one way you could keep Traylon Burks out of the end zone was to be coached by Chad. But it was maybe the knee injury more than anything else in Burks' first year. Who knows what would have happened the first year for Burks? Because that second year, boy, did he ever pop. And I think if you were to point to one player, and it's tough to do that, but why did Arkansas surprise everybody in 2021 with 9 wins? I'd point to Traylon Burks ahead of anybody else, just about. I don't know. Is Antonio Jordan, is he that kind of player? Is this the same sort of player that maybe he doesn't have the knee injury that Burks had coming in as a freshman? Can he pop immediately?
I mean, he looks like if you just ask me to compare them at first impressions, I would absolutely say Jordan is more impressive. He's just taller. He's at least as fast. And I don't know that he's as physical, but he's got good, but they both have good hands. I mean, those guys from Warren, I don't know what they're doing there. I don't know what's happening there, but they just keep finding those people. And I know somebody from Warren, and he tells me that Jordan is very much like Traylon Burks in terms of what we knew about Traylon was when in his spare time he used to go out and go fishing. He just wanted to get away from everybody. And that's one of the things I was told about Jordan is he's not going to be somebody down on Dixon Street. He's not a big city guy. He likes to kind of go out on his own. So they're similar in more ways than one.
Hey, baseball teams seem to gel nicely a little bit through going out fishing together. It might be a little difficult to get an entire football team out fishing there at one time.
Yeah, well, he might go out by himself. That's what I'm told. He just likes to get off on his own.
Let you react to this. The coaches poll is out. You get the media poll next week. The national coaches poll is out. Arkansas is getting votes, 14 votes. But you know what that means? It means they're picked 13th in the SEC this year. So it's pretty much where they were picked by the SEC media. But it's all. I know when you're doing these votes, nobody's voting on the schedule preseason. They're just voting on your roster. And I could see how Arkansas could be one of the top 50 rosters in the country, but that doesn't really mean very much inside the context of how you do against the 16 teams in your league.
Well, I think what a lot of those people are looking at is all the people that departed. You've got a lot of new faces on that offensive line. You've got a lot of new faces at wide receiver. And they see that as a problem. What Arkansas coaches have been telling us is, no, it's not a problem, it's an improvement. But and there seems to be, just from casual observation of what little we see, there seems to be something to what they're saying, but you still have to do it in a game. And that's we're better off than we were last week at this time when we were just talking about theories and things. We've got a little bit to go on, but it's always dangerous to talk about what the media sees in the first 6 periods of practice because it's what we don't see that sometimes, doesn't reveal itself until a game.